Day 917 of the Ukrainian War Map, also known as the Russo-Ukrainian War. Juzzie here, and today is another update as I take a simplified and down-to-earth approach to some of the most important happenings on the ground in Ukraine. So starting off, we'll take a look at those Russian losses, as currently Russia sits on more than 611,000 military personnel losses, representing an additional 1,090 in the past day. Then as for hardware losses, 5 tanks, 14 APVs, 27 artillery, and 1 aircraft, and I'll get into that one shortly. And then heading to the map with a lot of activity today, as in another blow to Russia's energy infrastructure, reports have emerged of a significant fire at the Ryazan power plant just southeast of Moscow. So a video of the smoke-filled power plant is circulating on Russian Telegram channels, with eyewitnesses claiming an explosion preceded the fire. However, pro-Kremlin sources dismiss the footage as a fake, alleging that it only shows dry grass burning near the plant. And despite the eyewitnesses close to the scene, other sources closer to the scene claimed a technological failure caused the smoke after a power unit failed to start following repairs. So, seems like another case of nothing to see, please disperse. Then headed down the map and still within Russia, as in what's becoming a challenging week for Russian oil infrastructure, another oil storage complex in the Rostov region is engulfed in flames after Ukrainian drone strikes. Overnight, Ukrainian drones targeted the Atlas oil depot, igniting the massive fire that persisted through the morning. Local sources report that the blaze is spreading through multiple storage tanks, with at least 3 tanks confirmed to be on fire. Although that report was from earlier this morning, so there may have been more since then. With the situation remaining critical as the fire shows no signs of being extinguished. And so these attacks are part of Ukraine's very determined and ongoing strategy to diminish Russia's military capabilities that help fuel its war. And the rate at which these events are occurring is steadily increasing to the point where Russia, an oil-producing and refining nation, is going to have to start importing the product. In fact, they already started looking into getting supplies from Kazakhstan and Belarus to supplement their own levels, but both countries said they just don't have the excess export capacity that Russia wants them to provide. Truly an impending national security crisis for Russia in the making. Then headed across into the Ukrainian map today, well, technically, the Russian map, as Ukrainian forces have reportedly attempted breakthroughs in Russia's Belgorod region, with conflicting accounts of the scale and success of the operations. Early reports indicated skirmishes near the Belgorod border, particularly around Zhuravlovka and Nekotiva, where a multitude of Russian sources confirmed ongoing clashes. Then later on in the day, some Russian sources suggested that Ukrainian troops managed to breach several border areas and entrench themselves. But these reports remain unconfirmed. But then also, some Russian sources even claimed that Ukrainian military incursion activity was moving into the Shebekino direction inside of Belgorod, which is effectively a location north of or behind Vovchansk. Although still, there's not a lot to support these particular claims. The AFU, on the other hand, have been silent on the matter, which is technically no different to the incredible levels of operational silence showcased just at the time of their Kursk offensive. Meanwhile, Belgorod Oblast Governor Gladkov stated that Russian authorities restricted access to Vezovoy, near the Sumy Oblast border, due to a, quote, difficult operational situation, with him claiming that Ukrainian forces attempted to cross into the Belgorod Oblast from here. And so Ukrainian forces seem to be testing multiple border points, probing defenses, and potentially forcing the Russian army to divert resources in a strategic feint. And if that's the case, this tactic could tie up Russian forces only for Ukraine to engage at entirely different locations along the northern border. Then to head northwest of here, as further military developments were seen with Belarus, as Belarusian military equipment has been spotted near the Ukrainian border, once again, marked with the tactical sign B. Despite this, Ukraine's State Border Guard Service emphasized that the situation remains under control, with Ukrainian officials, however, remaining vigilant, aware of the risk that Belarus could, for instance, be pressured by Russia to escalate its involvement. As such, Ukraine's government cautions Minsk to carefully assess the situation, warning that any direct invasion of Ukraine would be a grave mistake for Belarus. And grave mistake it would be, with Belarusian President Uncle Luka Lukashenko acting as a partial onlooker in this conflict, so it's fairly certain that he understands that a direct invasion of Ukraine would be a death sentence for both his country and his regime. Then taking a peek into Kursk, as Commander-in-Chief Alexander Syrsky updated on Ukraine's cross-border offensive into the Kursk region, highlighting its aim to create a security zone, aka a buffer zone, in Sumy to stop Russian shelling, but also stating having the intended outcome of halting the Russian creation of their own buffer zones into the Chernihiv or Sumy regions as well. Then looking deeper within this part of the map, Russia continues to install or attempt to install the occasional new pontoon bridge along the Sime River to access the south. And as you can see here with new pontoon before and after shots, with the loss of the structure in this instance resulting from UAV target acquisition followed by Russians sacrificing another pontoon setup to appease Lord HIMARS. And with some other cases we've seen Russians sacrificing another engineering battalion as a result of smaller drone strikes. So this such installation seen here was located 500 meters northeast of the damaged bridge in Zvenoy. In fact, Ukraine has also been shelling a new pontoon setup in Kobylki, which is just northwest of Glushkovo. So what we appear to see here is Ukraine systematically destroying pontoon bridges in the Kursk region, as Russia is so far having limited success in creating new ones, which becomes very much a bottleneck situation for any army attempting to create pathways into a region over a river, only for the opposing army to keep targeting these sites incessantly. Then headed further north of here, as Ukrainian FPV drones continue to prowl the key Russian supply route on the E38, a highway within Russia that more or less connects Lvov with Rilsk. And so seen here, this Russian military logistics truck burns on its highway approach to Rilsk. Also noting that this highway has since been closed off to civilian traffic. Then on the Kursk front, the Ukrainian 225th Assault Battalion captured foreign mercenaries from Africa. In this instance, the POW told that he was a grenade launcher commander and had to provide fire support. Then headed right down on the map, as Russian forces are now attempting to attack Vuhledar after countless failed attempts to take the town in the past. Now, in this case, they're attempting to come from the flanks, although Ukrainian protections are expected to remain quite strong in this region, because after Russia previously attempting a head-on attack at least 50 times, and that's quite literally at least 50 times, failing on every account due to the veritable minefield, they are now attempting this new approach, though it is likely that Ukraine's only expectation would have been that at some point Russia would try to perform an outflanking maneuver, as is reported to be the case now, thus building the necessary defenses to defend against such an attack. It's really only logical. Then taking a look around on the map, because somewhere in the east, another Russian Su-25 jet was downed in the Donetsk region today by a Ukrainian manpad. And we hadn't heard much about the Russian Su-25 jets operating in recent times, even in terms of successful ground support roles, though it is expected that their numbers are quite low these days, leading to this one potentially being pieced together by the cannibalization of other non-operational Su-25s. And yet now, the very next time we hear about a Russian Su-25 jet, it's the case of it being downed by the armed forces of Ukraine. Then also in the east, soldiers of the Tango unit of the Ukrainian SBU destroyed another R-330 ZH Zytel automated jamming station. So a form of electronic warfare, always a worthy target to neutralize. Then headed across to some news for today and back to the oldies and goldies, in a manner of speaking for this one, because Russian nuclear saber rattling picked up once again, with Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov using the escalated rhetoric at a press conference today, accusing the West of blackmailing Russia through the prohibition of long-range weapons usage. Which is, technically speaking, Lavrov acting threatened to the banned usage of these weapons well beyond the Russian border. With Lavrov also warning that this Western stance is driving the situation towards further trouble. Additionally, Lavrov hinted at a clarification, implying that this could be a response to the West's actions, signaling a potential shift in Russia's nuclear posture amid ongoing tensions. But let's be realistic here. This is in fact some of the tamest of nuclear rhetoric ever to come out of Russia. The country who is offended by everything and ashamed of nothing. Then to round off the video with something a bit lighter for a change, with all of the recent activity in the last few weeks not really giving me a chance to do so. So take a look at this one. It doesn't look like it starts out great, but truly it does. So as a lonesome, wounded, stranded and surrendering Russian soldier who had given up on his army and country, received a special kind of drone drop from the evil Ukrainians. A chemical compound named dihydrogen monoxide, or in other words, water, which he then proceeded to drink right after realizing that he wasn't taking on enemy fire. So now he can be taken as a POW, have his life saved well and truly, and be treated humanely according to the Geneva Convention, but further than that, treated with more respect within Ukraine than his own commanders ever gave him. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks again for watching. Please continue to like and comment, all of those nice things. You know I appreciate it. And yeah, thanks again, and I do hope to see all of you guys there in the next one. Cheers!